Welcome back to the finance segment of 1125. If you're new here, well, 1125 is all about exploring global and local issues using sharp, data-driven storytelling.
Yeah, we really try to decode things using data, context, and real-world insights.
Exactly.
Mm.
Cutting through the noise, helping you see the bigger picture. And today we are diving deep into a topic that honestly comes up constantly for anyone serious about making a mark in the investment world.
hmm
You're navigating the complex landscape of investments, trying to figure out that next career move, and this one three-letter designation keeps popping up, CFA.
Everywhere.
It's globally recognized, incredibly respected, and let's be frank, notoriously challenging.
That's putting it mildly.
So our mission today on the deep dive is really to demystify this powerful credential. We're going to explore exactly what the Chartered Financial Analyst or CFA designation is, who really gets the most benefit from it, and maybe most importantly, how you can successfully navigate the intense journey to becoming a CFA charter holder.
Sure.
We've really dug into the sources to cut through the noise and hopefully give you some surprising facts and, practical insights. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so given its reputation for being so rigorous, so intense, it kind of begs the question, beyond all the buzz, what exactly is the CFA? And why does its value seem to shift depending on, which corner of the financial world you're looking at?
That's absolutely the right place to start.
Hmm.
So, at its core, the CFA designation, it's a globally recognized credential. It's specifically designed for investment and finance professionals.
Okay.
It's offered by the CFA Institute, and you earn it by, well, not only passing a series of 3 pretty rigorous exams, but also meeting specific work experience requirements.
3 exams.
Yeah, 3. And they're comprehensive. They test a huge range of knowledge investment tools, asset valuation, portfolio management, wealth planning, ethics, you name it.
So it sounds like it's not just, one big test, but more like a multi-year commitment. What's that whole journey look like?
Oh, it absolutely is a journey. The path involves passing those 3 exams, level 1, level 2, and level 3,
Uh-huh.
and they get progressively more complex.
Right.
And the exams, they're just part of it. Like I said, beyond clearing those, you also need to show at least 3 years of relevant work experience.
3 years minimum.
3 years minimum relevant experience. Plus, you need 2 to 3 professional references. And our sources, they highlight something interesting. While theoretically you could get the full charter in maybe 1.5 years,
Huh?
that's considered almost impossible to do in practice, which really tells you something about the sheer dedication involved.
Yeah, almost impossible. Definitely highlights the commitment. So, okay, with that kind of upfront investment of time and, well, energy, the crucial question for anyone listening becomes, where does this designation truly shine for you? Where does it add the most value?
And what's really fascinating here, as the sources show, is that there's a pretty clear distinction in where the CFA truly adds value. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all credential.
Right.
Understanding its specific utility,
Yeah.
that's crucial if you're considering this path. Let's maybe look at the key benefits first.
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, one of the most striking things from the material is just the sheer industry-wide recognition. These exams are famously difficult.
Extremely.
So just passing them seems to signal a lot to employers about your dedication, your intellect, your analytical skills. It's almost like this universal badge of competence in finance.
Precisely. It carries a lot of weight.
Uh-huh.
And the curriculum itself, it's incredibly comprehensive. We're talking nearly all facets of finance equities, fixed income, derivatives, accounting, corporate finance, economics, portfolio management, ethics.
Wow, the whole spectrum.
Pretty much. And this isn't just surface level. The program is widely considered a master's level education. It demands, on average, over 900 hours of study across the whole program.
900 hours.
Yeah. So it significantly boosts your technical skills and give you a really holistic understanding of the investment landscape.
And then beyond the pure knowledge, there's also the network aspect, right? Our sources mentioned over 150 CFA societies worldwide. That sounds like it offers some invaluable networking and professional development ops.
It absolutely does. That global network is a huge plus.
And speaking of careers, it clearly seems to lead to attractive opportunities and, frankly, higher earning potential. The median pay for U.S. charter holders, I mean, this is 2019 data, but still, it was $193,000. And senior execs, $480,000. Those are definitely compelling numbers.
They are indeed compelling benefits, and this is probably the single most important factor before you jump in. It's all about its relevance to your desired career path.
Okay.
The CFA is widely seen as the gold standard for traditional asset managers. So think roles in long-only equities, fixed income, asset allocation, manager selection.
Got it. The core investment management roles.
Exactly. It's also highly valued in consulting and valuation firms, equity research, certain risk departments, and really any role that touches public markets. For those areas, the CFA gives you that unparalleled technical foundation.
So if you're aiming for those kinds of roles, the CFA seems almost like a must-have or at least a very strong advantage.
Definitely.
But what about other parts of finance? Because our sources pointed out some surprising areas where it's far less common. Can you talk a bit about why that might be?
Yeah, this is a really critical insight that people sometimes miss. The CFA is, perhaps surprisingly, much less common in traditional investment banking, especially M&A, and also in private equity and venture capital.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, the why is quite interesting. For one, professionals in these fields, particularly the junior analysts and associates, they work incredibly intense hours.
Right, the notorious hours.
Exactly, which leaves very little time for the kind of dedicated study the CFA demands. But maybe more profoundly, senior professionals in these fields, they often prefer or sometimes even require MBAs.
Ah, the MBA factor.
Right. And it's not just about technical skills. It often comes down to the nature of the roles themselves. They're very relationship-driven, very execution-focused. Investment banking, for instance, relies heavily on client relationships, deal execution, skills where general management, negotiation, broader business acumen often count for more than deep quantitative investment analysis.
So it's less about mastering the intricacies of financial instruments and more about those softer skills, strategic thinking, networking. It's a different skill set being prioritized in those specific areas.
That's a great way to put it, exactly.
Yeah.
Although there is an interesting exception.
Yeah.
Professionals who cover the asset management industry within banking, or maybe those in non-direct investment roles within PE firms like investor relations or portfolio support, they might still find the CFA beneficial.
Okay.
But for the direct deal-making, the M&A advisory side, an MBA often carries more weight. So this really raises an important question for you, the listener. When you're thinking about such a big investment of time and resources, you've got to critically evaluate what skills and networking opportunities truly line up best with your long-term career goals. Because each designation, as we're about to see, serves a pretty distinct purpose.
That's a crucial point because, yeah, the CFA is powerful, but it's definitely not the only game in town. Let's compare it to some of the alternatives people in finance often weigh up, starting with the classic, CFA versus MBA.
Ah, yes, the perennial question. And they really do complement different career paths. The CFA, as we've said, dives incredibly deep into the quantitative and analytical skills. It builds that robust technical foundation for investment decisions. An MBA, on the other hand, it typically provides broader networking opportunities, general management expertise, and it really cultivates those crucial soft skills, leadership, communication, negotiation things the CFA program doesn't really emphasize.
And the cost difference is, well, it's huge. MBA tuition can run up to, what, $150,000?
Easily, sometimes more at top schools.
Whereas the CFA, you're looking at maybe $2,500 to $3,500 total for the exams, plus like $400 in annual dues. That's a massive financial difference to think about.
Absolutely massive. And from a career path angle, like we touched on, the MBA is often the preferred route, sometimes even required, for getting ahead in fields like investment banking, private equity, corporate finance, particularly if you're looking to make a significant career change into those areas.
Makes sense. Okay, then there's the Certified Financial Planner, the CFP. How does that one stack up against the CFA?
So the CFP, that's really the gold standard for financial planners and professionals in wealth management. Its focus is much narrower compared to the CFA's broader applicability, which spans both institutional and personal asset management.
Okay, narrower focus.
Yeah. The CFP really gears you up for direct client relationships, planning for individuals and families. The CFA is more geared towards the deep investment analysis side. Plus, the CFP usually requires just one main exam versus the CFA's 3.
Right, 1 versus 3. That's a big difference in structure, too.
Yeah.
What about the CAIA, the Chartered Alternative Investment Analyst? That sounds pretty specific.
It is very specific. The CAIA designation focuses squarely on alternative investments. So think private equity, hedge funds, real assets, structured products.
Okay.
Now, the CFA curriculum does cover alternatives as part of its broad scope, but the CAIA offers a much deeper specialized dive into just that area, which is obviously a rapidly growing field.
And exam-wise.
The CAIA program requires 2 exams compared to the CFA's 3. So if your career path is definitely laser-focused on alternatives, the CAIA might be a more direct route for you.
Gotcha. And finally, the FRM, the financial risk manager. That's another one that sometimes pops up. What do our sources say about that?
Yeah, the FRM. While our source material didn't go into as much detail on its curriculum, it is indeed another specialized designation. This one focused specifically on risk management within finance. Interestingly, for FRM prep, one source specifically highlighted Bionic Turtle as a top study provider, apparently known for its depth and for fostering critical thinking.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it contrasted that with Kaplan-Schweizer, which, for FRM prep at least, was noted as having good study notes but maybe less challenging practice questions. It sort of implies Bionic Turtle might better prepare you for the actual rigor of the FRM exam, suggesting the FRM is its own unique challenge.
Okay, so a whole landscape of credentials to consider depending on your goals. But let's pivot back to the CFA. For anyone serious about this path, this next part is maybe the most crucial. We've talked about what it is and where it fits. But now, how do you actually conquer it?
Right.
It sounds like it's not just about what you study, but really how you study and understanding the real commitment required, maybe beyond those often cited 300 hours.
This is exactly where a lot of candidates can stumble if they don't go in with a realistic understanding of the commitment. Maybe let's talk logistics first. Post-COVID, there were some big changes. Starting in 2021, the CFA exams switched from paper-based to computer-based.
Ah, okay. Big shift.
Huge shift. It means more testing centers, broader exam dates, which offers a lot more flexibility. Level I now actually has 4 exam windows per year.
4. Wow.
Yeah, 4. And levels 2 and 3 each have 2 windows. So this increased flexibility, it could potentially shorten the whole journey to less than 2 years, but only for, highly dedicated, maybe slightly crazy individuals.
Huh, right. Still a massive undertaking.
Definitely. And each exam is 4.5 hours long. Level I has 180 multiple choice questions. Do the math, it gives you roughly 90 seconds per question. Time management during the exam is absolutely critical.
90 seconds. Okay, no time to linger. And that leads right into the whole discussion about realistic study hours and those pass rates, which often get misunderstood, right? The CFA Institute gives averages. 303 hours for level 1, 328 for level 2, 344 for level 3.
Yeah, those are the official numbers.
But our sources emphasize that the widely accepted benchmark of 300 hours falls short for roughly 95% of candidates. 95%, that's a huge gap.
It's a massive gap. And it's really important to understand annual surveys, especially from places like the CFA Reddit community, which collects data from thousands of candidates.
Yeah.
They consistently suggest that most successful candidates actually put in well over 300 hours. We're typically talking 400 to 500 hours per level.
400 to 500. Okay, that's a much heavier lift.
Significantly. And putting in those extra hours significantly boosts your chances. The pass rates themselves reflect the challenge.
Yeah.
They average around 43% for level 1, 45% for level 2, and 56% for level 3.
Still tough, even at level 3.
It's still tough. And remember, that's per level. The cumulative completion rate for getting through all 3 is, as you'd guess, significantly lower. Only a fraction of people who start actually finish the whole thing.
Wow, okay, so it truly is a marathon, not a sprint. And you need to plan for significantly more hours than that official average suggests. So, from the perspective of actual charter holders, people who've been through the trenches, what are some of the most effective study strategies they recommend?
A key piece of advice, almost universally, is you've got to break down the material. Think of the whole curriculum like this huge mountain.
Yeah.
Instead of getting overwhelmed by the sheer scale of it, you tackle one small, manageable section at a time. This really lets you explore and retain each subject more deeply, rather than just skimming the surface.
That makes a lot of sense. And drafting a detailed study plan sounds absolutely essential too. Our sources mentioned using even just a simple Excel spreadsheet outlining topics, schedules, review sessions.
Absolutely critical. You need to set clear daily and weekly goals. But you also need to be flexible. You have to be able to adjust if you find certain areas tougher or, life happens. Consistency really beats cramming every single time.
Right, consistency. And beyond the planning, active engagement with material seems paramount. Like, don't just passively read or watch videos.
Exactly. Take note-taking, for instance. The advice is, understand the material first, then write down the key concepts, the tricky bits, in your own words.
The in your own words part is key.
It really is. It forces you to process it. And maybe consider going digital with notes. You can be faster, more efficient, especially with the sheer volume of stuff in the CFA curriculum. Rephrasing helps solidify it.
And flashcards. They seem to be highlighted as essential, especially for levels 1 and 2.
Definitely. The advice there is to make sure they highlight the essential points concisely, maybe even with little diagrams, and then categorize them. I know this cold, I kind of know this, and I have no clue about this one.
Right, the sorting helps focus.
Precisely. And software like Anki, which uses spaced repetition, can be a total game changer. It keeps showing you the concepts you struggle with until they stick.
Okay, smart. And practice questions. Sounds like they should be a daily habit.
Cannot overstate the importance of practice questions. You need to build them into your daily routine. And crucially, if you get one wrong, don't just gloss over it. Figure out why you missed it. Go back and review that specific material immediately. And don't skip the CFA Institute's own practice questions, the end of chapter exercises, the online quizzes. They're crucial for getting a feel for the exam's style and depth. That active recall is just vital for cementing the knowledge.
So with all this intensity, when should someone realistically start studying? It sounds like you need a pretty generous lead time.
You absolutely do. Give yourself a minimum of 6 to 9 months before your exam date. Seriously.
6 to 9 months, minimum. Okay.
That time frame lets you spread the study hours out more manageably across that huge curriculum, hopefully preventing burnout. Consistency, again, is fundamental. Daily study sessions are way more effective than cramming. Like, 2 focused 1-hour sessions are generally better and less exhausting than trying to do one marathon 2-hour block.
Right, break it up. And it sounds like you kind of ramp up the hours as the exam gets closer.
Exactly. The recommended approach is maybe start with 1 to 2 hours daily, then maybe 3 months before the exam, ramp up to 2 to 3 hours daily, and then in that final month, you might be looking at anywhere from 2 to 8 hours a day, depending on your schedule.
Wow, okay. Intense final push.
Yeah. And in those last crucial 2 weeks, the focus should shift almost entirely to taking timed, full-length mock exams, and then thoroughly reviewing every single question you missed or even just found confusing. That's where you really hone your exam-taking strategy and build up that endurance.
Makes sense. Okay, one last practical point. Study materials. Official CFA Institute stuff versus third-party providers. What's the recommended approach there?
So the CFA Institute provides a really comprehensive curriculum, loads of practice questions, mock exams, all through their online learning ecosystem. They even have these new practical skills modules covering things like financial modeling and Python.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And while it's theoretically possible to pass using only the official materials, it's generally recommended to supplement with third-party prep providers.
Why is that?
Well, providers like Kaplan Schweizer, Fitch Learning, UWorld, Bloomberg Exam Prep, SALT Solutions, they often offer more succinct materials, summaries, focus question banks, video lectures, which can save candidates a ton of valuable time. These usually cost somewhere between, say, $249 and $699 per level.
Okay, so an extra investment, but potentially saves time.
Exactly. And some providers, like Kaplan Schweizer, they also offer a bunch of free resources, diagnostic exams, webinars, ebooks, flashcards, sample materials. Those can be a great way to just test the waters and see if their style works for you before committing.
What an incredible deep dive into the CFA designation. So, recapping quickly. We've seen the CFA as this hugely valuable credential, especially if you're aiming for careers in asset management, equity research, risk management.
Definitely powerful in those areas.
But it demands just incredible dedication and time, often way more than that commonly cited 300 hours per level. But the payoff can be significant career advancement and earning potential.
Yeah, it's clear, though, that while the CFA gives you that deep technical knowledge, that analytical skill set, its usefulness really depends heavily on your specific career path within finance. You've got to understand where it truly shines and where maybe other credentials like an MBA might be preferred. That's key to making an informed decision for yourself.
Absolutely. Which leads us to our final thought for you to mull over. Considering the rigorous analytical skills the CFA program builds, and then contrasting that with the value placed on softer skills and networking in fields like investment banking and private equity, how might you strategically combine this deep technical knowledge from something like the CFA with other development opportunities, maybe networking, leadership training, communication skills to become a truly well-rounded and, frankly, indispensable finance professional in today's rapidly evolving landscape?
That's a great question to ponder. How do you build the complete package?
Exactly. Something to think about as you plan your next career steps.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive here on 1125. If you found this useful, if it gave you some clarity, please do hit that like button. Maybe share this video with someone else wrestling with these same questions.
Yeah, definitely share it around.
And of course, subscribe to our channel for more data-driven insights into the world around us. We'll see you next time.